But you know, the electrical tape and varying gauges of wire, and it just kind of thing that exposes an individual to a lot of situation. And this is, you know, these aren't pictures that we make up. These are things we found. And so this is a grain bin. The hazard here is if you fall in there with that, you could suffocate in the grain, and people do crawl up on the top. And so this would be a confined space. You would definitely have to have a buddy there. Any confined space where it's not meant for someone to be, not meant for somebody to live, hard to get out of, or has a hazard like a grain that could be suffocating. Another frayed, broken line, old, cracked. Same thing here, exposed contacts. I don't know, I think this was, he liked the labeling on the door and this little side door emergency exit. But this is the type of jury rigging on wiring that we find. Does any of this look familiar to anyone? So these are the kinds of things that really can get you. We had someone die from something like this, so it's just not something you want to mess around with. Combustible storage in areas, you don't need to have this. Don't create additional hazards for yourself. Clean up, clear out, don't have combustibles. This, how do you know that that's a heavy motor? What is it strapped to? Do you know the load rating of the beam that you're attaching to? That's the kind of thing that do think about before you pull up an engine. Broken wires, receptacles, wiring. With all of these pictures, you know how prevalent this is. This is you should have access to your panel. You're supposed to have 3 feet in front of your panel so that you can get over there, shut it off, stop anything that if you have a situation that arises and you need to lock it out right away. Just easy to fix, needs a face cover, right? Another permit required space, depending on what's inside, but that is not an inhabitable space. Anytime that we've had to get inside of our water tanks, that's a permit required situation where you have to have the buddy system, have to make sure there's enough oxygen, the various different aspects of hazards, extra hazards that go into working in those areas. Of course, this is something we don't like seeing. We don't want to be eating and drinking around the chemicals. More old rotten wires. That's an accident waiting to happen. Metal siding, electrical Romex. This conduit was live and exposed. Same thing here, switch, you know, just, these are pretty easy to replace. Put a new plug on, don't need to have the end like that. You go to pull it, get exposed to some wires. And yeah, this is sort of somebody's jury rigging here. I know it happens, you know, you have to, sometimes you just do what you need to do, but this isn't what we want to see. Mercury, we have mercury in our light switches, we have mercury in our temperature thermostats, so there's mercury in a variety of places in some of these facilities. Another electrical hazard. This one, sending the electrical wire through the wall, and that's not allowable. So, faceplate. There is a rat there, so he got fried. We didn't put him there. So, mold, we don't have much mold in New Mexico, but in the places where we do, it's usually a problem because it hasn't been tended to and it's just growing everywhere. And there are quite a few people who are allergic to mold and have severe reactions and sometimes anaphylactic type responses. Same thing, more electrical. You can see the similarities here. And then this is a feed meal. That's a huge auger and very 6-foot fall. They have to get in there and clean the augers. And so we need some catwalks. We need some different ways of doing it. I think we're doing it now with fall protection, but these are definite additional hazards that you may encounter. Here's some wiring by code. And we have electricians, and as Shad was mentioning to me today, it's difficult to get electricians, qualified electricians out to these facilities, and it's expensive. So when you get them out there to do the work, have them do a lot of work and get it fixed right. But that was the compressor. This is a lockout. This is the way it's supposed to be done whenever you're confined space should be labeled so people know. If you think you have a confined space, it's a hazard for people to go in there, tell people. That's the idea behind this. So the take home that I wanted to leave is, if nothing else, make sure you get that immunization. That tetanus is really important in your field of work. Just be aware. I tried to show you some pictures of what is real in New Mexico, and we have fixed all of those, I'll tell you, but it was pretty evident to me that it was prevalent throughout, and just a condition. And people learn to live with the situation that they have at hand, and they deal with it. And I know that in your environment, you run into a lot of things where you have to do it yourself. So just know what you can do and what you should be getting expert help for. And if you know you have problems, you do. Anytime you have knowledge about them and you're made aware of them, that is a liability for you. And that's not what we really care about. And I think what we really care about is that we don't want anybody hurt. And do what you can. It's within your realm, because it's part, you guys know where your issues are, you know where your risks are, and you know where your hazards are. So yeah, it's just up to you to take care of that. And any questions about facility safety? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your attention.